So there is 15,000 hedge funds around the world, and they control collectively over $5 trillion. And we now have breaking news that a Wall Street legend with decades of experience in the space is now considering selling his $35 million mansion and putting $10 million of that money into Bitcoin.
I'm thinking of selling this house. I could sell this for 35 million. I want to get 10 million into Bitcoin because I think this is your last chance. It's going to trade close.
So that is Wall Street legend Hugh Henry. He believes Bitcoin's going to be trading closer to $1 million, but it's not just him. He's not the only Wall Street legend and hedge fund manager openly talking about making a very big Bitcoin position. So today I want to be talking about what is going to be happening in the next 6 to 12 months if all of these hedge funds want to start selling their mansions and putting $10 million into Bitcoin. Because again, I don't want to give away the surprise too soon, but there's simply not enough Bitcoin on exchanges for all of those 5,000 hedge funds and their managers to start allocating in size to Bitcoin. So let's start breaking down what is actually going on right now. So we know this because we talk about it all the time. 50% of hedge funds around the world are investing in Bitcoin. Again, I was not stuttering or lying or making up figures in the introduction of today's video. There are 5,000 hedge funds around the world and they control $5 trillion of money collectively. Okay, this is pretty big. Now have a look at the list I have on screen right now. What are we looking at? These are the top 25 hedge funds in the world. And would you notice something pretty interesting about the little green pieces of text that we're looking at here? We can see 16 of them own Bitcoin. 16 of the world's largest 25 hedge funds own Bitcoin, and a lot of them own serious Bitcoin. Have a look at Millennium Management, 27,000 Bitcoin. That's huge. We also have Schoenfeld Strategic Advisors with 6,000 Bitcoin under holdings. And I think this is just another indication that this space is not only maturing in a very big way, but the biggest asset allocators in the world cannot ignore Bitcoin, okay? I want to quickly come back to this hedge fund discussion here in a moment because I'm not done discussing hedge funds. But what I will say is it's very interesting that flows into the Bitcoin ETFs continue to accelerate at the time of recording. Everybody continues to try to predict this is the top. This is the top. There won't be any more inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs, but we have just seen 5 straight weeks of inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs as we once again approach a new all-time high. Bitcoin is right now knocking on the door of $106,000 per coin. We're going to check out the chart just in a moment here. But before we get to the chart, I have a different chart I want to show you. This is the global hedge fund market. You guys can see it is projected to rise to $6.3 trillion in 2033. And you can see in 2023, it was 4.47 trillion. I don't just make these numbers up at a whim. This really is a big market. $5 trillion is, just thinking off the top of my head, what countries are bigger than $5 trillion in total GDP size? There's not many. You can count them on one hand. There is America, China. I think that's it. Anyway, we're going to fact check myself here in a moment. But $5 trillion is a whole lot of chump change. That is the point I'm trying to highlight here. It's a lot of money, okay? And what I think is really interesting is all of these hedge fund managers, again, they haven't been massive Bitcoin bulls forever. Again, you guys can go and check out Hugh Henry's speech at Bitcoin conference in 2023 because he did appear there and he was, let's just say, a little bit more on the skeptical side of things. He wasn't a full-blown, I'm all in kind of Bitcoin bull at that stage in mid-2023, but he was very open-minded, very curious. And again, credit to Hugh. He's come around in pretty big size by the sounds of things. Because again, let's think about where we are in this market cycle. If you're a hedge fund manager and you have decades of experience, you have a lot of experience. You're not necessarily going all in on Bitcoin at the top. And I think the fact that Bitcoin's been, let's let's say consolidating here for the past couple of months, I think this is a very bullish sign that some of the smarter money managers around the world are getting into Bitcoin when they are. Again, don't trust, verify. Don't just, again, Bitcoin is not about appealing to authority. That's not what we're doing. But I do think it's an interesting sign because, again, look at this. We right now just had our highest weekly close in Bitcoin history. Highest weekly close in history. That's huge. And everybody is completely asleep at the wheel. And I just kind of think that things are about to get really interesting here. And I don't think anyone is prepared for what the next 6 to 12 months could look like in the Bitcoin space. Because I think we're seeing, let's call it what it is, a recipe for a supply shock to emerge. And I think we're really close to that materializing in a really big way. The first reason for why I believe that is because of the chart I have on screen right now. What are we looking at? This is what Bitcoin does in the last 6 months of every bull run. These banana zone-like rallies typically happen around a year after the halving. So you guys can see very clearly 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024. Those were the years that we had those halvings. And I mean, it's pretty clear by the chart. You can see what the Bitcoin price did about 12 months after the halving. It went parabolic, it went nuts. And guess where we are today? We just had a halving about 12 months ago. And I think the next chart I'm going to show you kind of, maybe it says that there is tinder on this fire and we are just waiting for the match and the gasoline to be poured on, because this chart right here is the gasoline. This is what creates parabolic spikes in the price of Bitcoin. This is retail joining the game late, okay? Retail is what created this massive 2017 frenzy and parabola. Retail, they're not smart money. They're just going to pile in when they see the price of Bitcoin going up 10, 20% day after day after day, and we are going to see that. We can see here right now, Google Trends, the popularity for Bitcoin is pretty much a bear market lows. This is the worldwide view of Google Trends with Bitcoin. I think it's fascinating that right now we are literally at, wow, I mean, have a look at that. 20 on the Google Trends for Bitcoin. Nobody cares. Everybody's asleep at the wheel. Nobody cares what Bitcoin is doing right now. It's boring. It's not something that people want to buy. It's not something people are interested in. But I think all of that is about to change. Why do I think that? Well, that has to do with the next chart I'm going to show you. We all know that Bitcoin typically rallies aggressively. Okay, we always talk about the statistic that Bitcoin's, best 12 days each year outperforms the other 350 plus days. So all this is to say is that Bitcoin typically violently rallies. And if you're not in the market during those times, you typically miss out on the best performance of Bitcoin. Now, why do I think we could be due for a violent rally in the not too distant future? Again, nobody knows the price of Bitcoin, where it's going in the short term. Me in particular, none of this is financial advice or trading advice. My God, don't make me cringe. But what I will say is that this is pretty interesting, this chart right here. If Bitcoin pops its head above $115,000, $5 billion of shorts will be liquidated. And you know what that means? Short squeezes could be coming. Short squeezes could be really emerging here in the not too distant future. And I think most people are not prepared. And I think a lot of people are unpositioned. People are not positioned to be where I think they should be. I think everybody's underallocated in the Bitcoin space. It's my pet peeve. I genuinely think nobody's bullish enough on Bitcoin. I genuinely think more people are going to lose money by being bearish than they will be being bullish. I know a lot of people, I've had hate comments before say, Luke, you being so bullish, it's irresponsible. It's encouraging people to be over allocated to Bitcoin. And my response or retort to that would just be, look, I strongly disagree with that. I think more people are going to lose money because they're not bullish enough than by being too bullish. Because again, if you're 100% all in Bitcoin and you've got a long time horizon, how can you lose money? I mean, sure, Bitcoin can go to zero. Not ruling it out. I tell everyone. Bitcoin's either going to be worth zero or it's going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars a coin. I don't think there's any middle ground here. Again, everybody says it's so politically correct to say, oh, there's a middle ground. Oh, equality. Oh, there's no black and white. It's a gray area, right? That's the common approved narrative. I disagree with the common approved narrative. Again, we have 8,000 years of monetary history, hundreds of thousands of years of technological history that says the otherwise. It is an all or nothing game when better money comes along. It is also an all or nothing game when a superior technology comes along. Again, how many people are using horse and carriage for 20 or 30% of their transport needs every single day? No. Who? How many people? Show me those people. 99.99999% of the world uses superior technological innovations for transport. The car, the train, the aeroplane, they're 1,000 times better than horses and carriages. It's the same as Bitcoin. In 20 years' time, 99.99999% of people will have the majority of their wealth stored in Bitcoin because it's simply better than everything else. I do want to talk about gold here in a moment, and I do want to open up the rabbit hole of Bitcoin versus real estate. But before I get really ahead of myself, I want to rein myself back in here just a moment. Now, obviously, who knows if we're going to see a potential short squeeze? Even if we do, and again, it's a possibility, it could come. But I do think people are going to be sidelined and people are going to be left wondering what is going on. And I just think, again, what's the big message I want to drive home today? Bitcoin is worth so much more than you can ever imagine. And I actually want to make the case because I think Bitcoin is worth more than $1,014,000 today. And today I'm going to be using ChatGPT to help convince you of that fact. We're going to be running some numbers because a lot of people say, okay, gold is a $21 trillion market cap. Bitcoin, in all of its characteristics of money, is better than gold. So I think Bitcoin today is worth more than $1 million a coin. Now I'm going to be showing you some of the calculations I've ran here in a moment, but I just want us to really think about what made gold so valuable for the past 8,000 years of monetary history. It was its scarcity. And everybody says, okay, Bitcoin comparatively a little bit scarcer than gold, 21 million coins. That's cool. That's cute. But what people are missing about gold is it's not actually scarce. I know, groundbreaking announcement here, but let me walk you through a couple of very recent developments that have happened in the past 12 months alone. So Uganda, a country in Africa, just found $12 trillion worth of gold. That's right, $12 trillion worth of gold. This is nearly the size of the entire gold supply today. Now, let's jump on over here and fact check myself. It's actually bigger. The Ugandan discovery that they just found, that is on the left-hand side of this chart in the dark blue. You guys can see, this is how much they're claiming that they've found. Again, don't trust, verify. Uganda hasn't got the gold out of the ground yet. Some people are saying we can't trust Uganda. Maybe they're just pulling a political stunt. Could be true. But what I do think is interesting is that Uganda has actually been exporting a lot of gold over the past 10 years, which I think maybe adds a little bit of validity to their claim. We can see Uganda gold exports jump more than tenfold in 2023, says their central bank. This here isn't the best chart. It's a little bit blurry, but it's a 25-year chart. And you can see that since the mid-2015s, gold exports out of Uganda have been increasing precipitously. Here's another chart that kind of highlights that point. Again, gold exports have been rapidly expanding out of Uganda. So they obviously have gold in the country, obviously, right? But what if I told you that they're not the only country that have found a major gold discovery? We can see here in China. Again, we're actually going to be discussing 3 countries that have found a massive gold discovery. I'm going to be hypothetically thinking about what this could do to the supply of gold, right? Gold is money because it's scarce. It's a $21 trillion market cap for a reason. It's not because people put it in their teeth. No. About 10% of gold's use case comes from its jewelry use cases, right? So gold is predominantly, the reason why it has a $21 trillion market cap is purely because of its store of value qualities. But what happens if all of a sudden it loses some of its store of value qualities? What happens if all of a sudden gold is not quite as scarce as it used to be? What happens if all of a sudden our technologically advancing world is able to find more and more and more gold? Just a hypothetical thought experiment, but let's see what happened in China in late 2024. A massive gold deposit was discovered in China. It's estimated to contain over 1,000 metric tons of gold. Could potentially be the largest gold deposit ever discovered. Again, could potentially. The deposit is estimated to be worth $83 billion. $83 billion. So that's a lot of gold. Don't get me wrong. That is a lot of gold. Now, again, Uganda is claiming that it's potentially squatting on more gold, and it is a bigger deposit, but who knows what is true? Who knows whether they actually have it or not? But what if I told you that it's not just Uganda and China coming out in the past 12 months talking about huge gold deposits? What if I told you that, here's a coincidence, Bitcoin country is sitting on $3 trillion of unmined gold as well. This is also a late 2024 discovery, so to say. Let's have a look at what is happening in Bitcoin country, El Salvador. They are right now apparently sitting on $3 trillion worth of gold. Again, let's do some quick maths here. This would be, is it about 8%? No, it'd be about 12 to 15% of the existing supply. That's a lot. Just flooded onto the market. This would be absolutely huge. And I think this is what a lot of people need to be paying attention to, because I want to show you guys the 200-year chart of the growth of the gold supply, because I think it shows us some interesting things. Because we can see when we really zoom out a little bit, we can see how things have changed more recently. Right now, technology is making gold a lot more abundant than it used to be. Have a look at how much gold we're mining today in the 2020s compared with how much gold we were finding even just 100 years ago. And have a look at how small the Great California Gold Rush was in 1848. Again, it was called the California Gold Rush. It was a rush. But have a look at how much gold we're finding now. It's a completely different ball game, don't you think? Completely different ball game. And this is what I think. This is kind of what helped me slowly bring my head around to understanding the importance of absolute scarcity. This is very important. Gold, again, it's only scarce based upon the technological limitations of our society. But what happens if we, again, technologically get more and more advanced? We're probably going to find more and more gold, don't you think? Again, I'm bullish on humanity. I'm bullish on our ability to find more gold. Have a look at this. This is actually a pretty cool little chart as well. In the last decade, the number of major gold discoveries fell by 70% compared to the previous 10 years. In 2021, there were no new major discoveries at all. So again, this is like a gold bug centric propaganda, so to say. They're saying, oh no, but gold's getting harder to find. It's not. It's not. It's absolutely not. We just showed you the data here. It's getting easier to find. China, Uganda, and even El Salvador is finding massive amounts of gold. And guess what President Bukele wants to do with that massive $3 trillion worth of gold? He tweeted, but what could they possibly do with that? He's kind of hinted on Twitter a couple of times that he's going to change the laws to mine the gold and then sell the gold for Bitcoin. So again, this is where I really want you guys to start thinking about potential end games of gold, Bitcoin. What is going to happen next? Is it wise to have all your net worth in gold? I don't think so. I used, as a former gold bug myself, I used to have a large chunk of my net worth in gold when I was 19, I believe. I was the one 19-year-old kid with a ton of gold in my portfolio. But things change, okay? Things absolutely change. So again, I think gold is great. Don't get me wrong, gold is incredible. And even though it is at an all-time high today, you guys can see it rallying aggressively. Look what I want to have a look at the gold Bitcoin chart, because I think that could be really interesting for us to take a peek at. Let's take a little bit of a peep over here at the let's take a look at the gold versus Bitcoin chart here. Oh, I lost it. What have I done? What have I done here? I want to bring it back up for you guys because I think it's going to be really interesting to take a little bit of a peep at. XAU, BTC. Oh boy, I wish you guys could see what I could see. Let me share my screen again. Technical difficulties. We have 500 people in the live show. Welcome. I would love your thoughts. How much gold do you have? How much Bitcoin do you have? Is there a second best? I would love your thoughts. This right here is the gold Bitcoin chart. Again, when you stick it on log, you can kind of see the trend a little bit more. You can see it's down only. So this is gold priced in Bitcoin. Absolutely down only. Dean in the chat, he just puts a little orange emoji. I'm assuming he's saying that he's bullish on Bitcoin there. And Mark here in the chat also makes an interesting point. Future CAGR for Bitcoin at 57%, likely. Too bullish. I actually think it's incredibly bearish. I did mention my discussion with ChatGPT. Now let's take a little bit of a peep here. Because there's 500 of you guys in the live chat. I want to give you a little bit of a peep into a future video that I've been running. But I would love to try to open this image in another tab for you guys. Oh, I can't do it. Come on, ChatGPT, lift. You guys are just gonna have to stick around for the next video because it's a banger. And the synopsis is, I genuinely think that a CAGR of 57% is incredibly conservative for Bitcoin, especially considering how widely Bitcoin is adopted right now, because it is it's still very early with Bitcoin, incredibly early with Bitcoin. I want to answer some comments here in the chat. Dirk fan says, do you wear your sunglasses low to prow, or are you wearing a noseband? I have a big, I've got a big schnoz, so sometimes it needs a little bit of help to open up a bit. So I got the nose tape on there. It helps me breathe and not snore so much, you know what I mean? And McLovin here makes a really great point in the chat. What else is programmed to become more scarce over time? That's right, absolutely nothing. That's a great point. This is why personally I'm all in Bitcoin. I sold all my gold a while ago. I've pretty much gone all in on Bitcoin. And I just think most people are underallocated to Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. Okay. This is why I always encourage people to buy more Bitcoin. Again, if you do want to buy some Bitcoin and even get some free Bitcoin, highly recommend you check out what the Bitcoin Well is doing. Not only are they the best exchange to buy your Bitcoin, but when you buy Bitcoin, you get tokens to play the Bitcoin wishing well. I can't show you the wishing well today, but what I will tell you guys to do is to head on over there, buy some Bitcoin, use the link in the description of today's show, and they're going to give you tokens when you buy Bitcoin. And you can go into the draw to win 1% of a Bitcoin. So highly recommend you do that. And once you bought your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin wishing well, go and back it up the way it should be backed up. That is obviously in a hardware wallet, offline, not on an exchange. Okay, again, use a good exchange like the Bitcoin World to buy your Bitcoin, but then go and keep it in your own self-custody. I recommend you back up your Bitcoin hardware wallets with Stampseed. As you can see, their titanium plates will survive fire, will survive floods, hurricanes, acid, all of the above. So again, you guys can get 15% off absolutely anything you want to buy from Stampseed with that promo code Luke15. That is also linked down below in the description. So gold, Bitcoin, what is going to be the best store of value in the 2020s and moving forwards in the 2030s? I wanted to do this video today because to McLovin's point, I think a lot of people right now are talking about gold. 21 million BTC for 8 billion people is not a lot. And here's the other kicker. I just don't think all 21 million Bitcoin are actually available for sale. I think there's actually far less Bitcoin available for sale than most people think. I actually think the maths gets really scary when we start thinking about how rare Bitcoin is, how scarce Bitcoin is, and the trend of what is going to be going on in the future. Okay, we're seeing more institutions, more pension funds, more people like Hugh Henry, hedge fund legend, go all in on Bitcoin. Well, not all in, but a $10 million buy, that ain't chump change. Okay, this is why I think supply crunch is going to get crazy. This is why I think you guys need notifications of your Bitcoin signal. Again, maybe YouTube is not pushing this video. Maybe I'm getting shadow banned. And who knows? Who cares? But All Night Hider didn't get the notification. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to everyone in the live chat. We got 592 of you guys between Twitter and YouTube. So welcome. If you are enjoying this content, I'm cool with that. I'm glad you guys are here. And if you do want to be learning a little bit more about why I think gold isn't necessarily completely obsolete in someone's portfolio. Again, I think everybody's portfolio is different. Everybody needs different allocations to different asset classes. I actually recently filmed a video just having a look in hindsight and giving my opinion on what I think is the best Bitcoin allocation for each age group. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I had a little bit of a think. I put my thinking cap on and I said, okay, this is how much gold, real estate, Bitcoin, stocks, bonds, I think people should have based upon what age they're at. Yes, your Bitcoin allocation is going to change. So if you haven't seen that video, I did recently film that video, linked it in the live chat. I'm also going to put a link on screen somewhere around there. It's going to take you straight to that video if you click on it. That'll appear after today's stream. So with all that said, thank you so much to everyone who joined today's stream, and I will see you all in the next one.